The Christmas dinner at my parents' house had been unfolding exactly as it had for the past decade. My sister Vanessa had spent the last 40 minutes describing her new roommate situation, a two-bedroom apartment she was sharing with a graphic designer, complete with detailed commentary about the kitchen tile choices and the building's recycling policy. My mother hung on every word like Vanessa was narrating a documentary on the discovery of penicillin. I'd been methodically working through my roasted Brussels sprouts, offering the occasional nod, effectively invisible. Then Aunt Linda arrived, her arms full of wrapped presents and her signature raspberry tart, and everything shifted. Linda wasn't just my father's sister. She was a commercial property investor who owned a portfolio of retail spaces across the city. She was also one of the few family members who'd taken an interest in my career over the past 12 years. "Sorry I'm late, everyone," Linda said, settling into the seat beside me with a warm hug. "Client emergency. One of my tenants had a pipe burst." She turned to me, her smile genuine. "But I wouldn't miss Christmas with my favorite niece. Tell me, how's that $680,000 investment property working out? Are you still getting the rental income you projected?" The dining room went silent. Vanessa's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. My father's wine glass froze in midair. My mother's face drained of color. "Linda, what investment?" my father whispered, his voice tight. I took a slow sip of my wine, letting the moment settle. 12 years. 12 years of being overlooked, dismissed, and treated like the family disappointment while Vanessa's every mundane life choice became a family celebration. And now, finally, the truth was emerging. "The house on Oakmont Drive," Linda said casually, reaching for the dinner rolls. "The one Sarah bought in 2012. Beautiful Victorian." I told her at the time the bones were solid. "She's done incredible work with it." Vanessa found her voice first, shrill with disbelief. "Sarah doesn't own a house. She rents that place above the coffee shop." "I rented that place," I corrected calmly, "for about 2 years after grad school. Then I bought the house on Oakmont Drive. That was 12 years ago." My father set down his wine glass with enough force to make the table shake. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the 5-bedroom Victorian I purchased for $680,000 in November 2012, I said evenly. "The one I've been living in and renovating for the past 12 years. The number seemed to reverberate through the room. My mother's hand flew to her throat. My father's jaw went slack. "That's impossible," my mother breathed. "Where would you get money for something like that?" "From working," I said simply. "I'm a senior architect at Henderson and Associates. I've been there for 15 years. I make $205,000 a year before bonuses." Linda nodded approvingly. "Sarah's being modest. She made partner last year. Her annual compensation is closer to $280,000 with profit sharing." "Partner," my father said slowly, like the word was foreign. "As of January last year," I confirmed. "I'm the youngest partner in the firm's history." My sister's voice came out strangled. "You're a partner at Henderson and Associates?" "Yes," I said. "I lead the residential design division. We have 23 architects under my supervision." The silence that followed was profound. My mother looked like she might cry. My father stared at his plate. Vanessa's face had gone from confused to something darker, resentment mixed with shock. "Why didn't you tell us?" my mother finally whispered. "I did tell you," I said, my voice steady. "Multiple times. You didn't listen." Linda pulled out her phone, scrolling through something. "Actually, I have the messages Sarah sent me about it. December 2012. Told Mom and Dad about the house. Dad said I was being irresponsible. Mom asked if I was sure I could afford it. March 2013. Tried to invite them to the housewarming. They said they were busy with Vanessa's graduation from the dental hygienist program." "That's taken out of context," my father said defensively. "Is it?" Linda asked, her voice pleasant but sharp. "Because Sarah has been trying to share her life with you for 12 years, and you've been too busy fawning over Vanessa to notice." Vanessa's face flushed red. "That's not fair, Aunt Linda." "Isn't it?" Linda asked. "You've been talking about your roommate for 40 minutes. Sarah owns a house worth over $1 million now, and your parents didn't even know it existed." "Over $1 million?" my mother said faintly. "The Oakmont area has appreciated significantly," Linda explained. Sarah's property is currently valued at approximately $1.15 million according to recent comparables. Her equity position is excellent. My father's voice came out rough. You're saying Sarah's house is worth over $1 million? At minimum, Linda confirmed. Possibly more if she were to list it. Victorian homes in that neighborhood are highly sought after, and Sarah's renovations have been exceptional. What renovations? My mother asked. All of them, I said. I've restored the original hardwood floors, updated the kitchen and bathrooms, replaced the roof, modernized the electrical and plumbing, refinished the exterior, and landscaped the entire half-acre property. I've invested about $240,000 in improvements over 12 years. The numbers kept landing like hammer blows. Vanessa looked like she might be sick. My parents sat frozen. You had $240,000 for renovations? My father said. I saved for them, I replied. I did most of the work myself. Design, project management, contractor coordination. What I couldn't do myself I hired out. But I planned every renovation carefully, budgeted for it, and executed it professionally. Linda smiled. Sarah's house was featured in Architectural Digest last spring. Did she mention that? No, my mother whispered. I did mention it, I corrected. At Easter. I showed you the article on my phone. You looked at it for maybe 5 seconds before asking Vanessa about her new dental office. The memory hung in the air, sharp and specific. My mother's hand trembled as she reached for her water glass. Architectural Digest? My father said slowly. 6-page spread, Linda confirmed. The article was titled, Young Architect Transforms Historic Victorian into Modern Masterpiece. Sarah's design work was called Visionary and respectful of historical integrity while embracing contemporary living. Vanessa's voice turned bitter. So you've just been secretly famous this whole time? I'm not famous, I said. I'm successful in my field. There's a difference. And I wasn't keeping it secret. I tried to share it with you. You weren't interested. That's not true, my mother protested. Isn't it? I asked quietly. Can you tell me what firm I work for? What my job title is? What projects I've designed? The silence was damning. My father looked at his hands. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Linda set down her phone. Henderson and Associates. Partner and head of residential design. Recent projects include the Riverside Commons development, the historical renovation of the Hartley Mansion, and the luxury condominiums on Waterfront Drive. All award-winning designs. All projects Sarah led personally. I don't understand, my mother said, her voice breaking. How did we not know any of this? Because you never asked, I said simply. Because every conversation about my life got redirected to Vanessa. Because you assumed that since I wasn't constantly posting on social media or seeking attention, I must not have anything worth sharing. My father's colleague from the school board, Tom Richardson, spoke up from the far end of the table. I've been to Sarah's house. Absolutely stunning. That wraparound porch restoration? Magazine-worthy. You've been to her house? My father said sharply. Several times, Tom confirmed. Sarah hosts an annual holiday party. Beautiful event. I thought you'd mentioned going, but maybe I misunderstood. We were never invited, my mother said, her voice cracking. I sent invitations for 11 consecutive years, I corrected. Engraved cards with RSVP requests. You never responded. I stopped sending them last year. Tom looked uncomfortable. Oh, I see. Well, it's a lovely home. You should visit sometime. The suggestion seemed to wound my parents. My mother's tears spilled over. My father's face went from pale to red. Linda continued as if nothing had happened. Sarah, have you decided about the Manchester Street property? That investment opportunity we discussed. Investment opportunity? My father's voice came out strangled. There's a mixed-use property available in the Arts District, Linda explained. 4 commercial units on the ground floor, 6 residential units above. Sarah's considering purchasing it. Why would Sarah buy another property? Vanessa demanded. For income diversification, Linda said. Sarah already owns 3 rental properties in addition to her primary residence. This would be her 5th property overall. The revelation hit like a shockwave. My mother actually gasped. My father's face went from red to ashen. 3 rental properties? My mother whispered. Small single-family homes, I said. I buy them, renovate them, and rent them to young professionals. Average monthly cash flow of about $1,200 per unit after expenses. That's $3,600 a month, my father said, clearly doing the math. That's $43,200 a year in rental income. Plus appreciation, Linda added. Those properties have increased in value by an average of 35% since Sarah purchased them. Vanessa's voice rose with anger. So you're just rich? Is that what this is? You're sitting there acting normal while you're actually a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire, I said, though the correction felt hollow even as I said it. Actually, Linda interjected, Sarah's net worth is approximately $1.8 million. Primary residence equity of $1.15 million. Rental property equity of roughly $380,000. Retirement accounts of $190,000. And liquid investments of about $80,000. So technically, yes, she is a millionaire. The number seemed to suck all the oxygen from the room. Vanessa looked like she'd been slapped. My parents sat completely still, processing. $1.8 million, my father repeated mechanically. Give or take, Linda confirmed. And that's conservative. If Sarah sold everything at current market rates, she'd probably clear closer to $2 million after taxes and transaction costs. My mother's sobs intensified. I don't understand any of this. How did this happen? By working hard, I said. By living below my means. By making strategic investments. By building a career instead of just having a job. And by being brilliant at what she does, Linda added. Sarah's won 14 design awards. Her projects have been featured in 7 major publications. She's lectured at 3 universities. She's one of the most respected residential architects in the state. Each fact was something I'd tried to share over the years. Each one had been dismissed or ignored. 14 awards, my father said weakly. The most recent was the State Architecture Society's Excellence Award, I said. 3 months ago. For the Riverside Commons project. I mentioned it at Thanksgiving. You said you had a good week at work, my mother said. I said I'd won a major industry award. I corrected. You said, that's nice, and then asked Vanessa about her new dental scrubs. The specificity of the memory seemed to hit my mother like a physical blow. She buried her face in her hands. Vanessa stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I can't sit here and listen to this. Listen to what? Linda asked calmly. Your sister's accomplishments? The ones your parents have been ignoring for 12 years. She's rubbing it in our faces, Vanessa said. She's existing, Linda corrected. I asked her a simple question about her investment property. The fact that your parents didn't know about it isn't Sarah's fault. It is her fault, Vanessa insisted. She never tells us anything. I've told you everything, I said, my voice harder now. Repeatedly. For 12 years. None of you listened. You were too busy celebrating Vanessa's roommate choices to notice that I'd built an actual life. My life matters too, Vanessa said defensively. It does, I agreed. But so does mine. And mine has been invisible to this family for over a decade. My father found his voice defensive and sharp. That's not true. We care about your life. Do you? I asked. Then tell me, what firm do I work for? What's my job title? What's my salary? Where do I live? The silence stretched. My father's jaw worked. My mother looked away, tears streaming. Henderson and Associates, Linda provided quietly. Partner and head of residential design. $280,000 annual compensation. 2156 Oakmont Drive, a 5-bedroom Victorian she owns outright. Outright, my mother said faintly. Sarah paid off the mortgage 7 years ago, Linda confirmed. She's owned the house free and clear since 2017. You paid off a $680,000 mortgage in 5 years? My father said. 5 years and 3 months, I corrected. Every bonus went straight to principal. Every raise. Every award prize. I lived on my base salary and used everything else to eliminate the debt. Vanessa's voice turned venomous. So you're perfect. Is that it? Perfect Sarah with her perfect house and her perfect career. I'm not perfect, I said tiredly. I just made different choices. I chose to invest in assets instead of experiences. I chose to work 60-hour weeks to advance my career. I chose to learn and grow instead of staying comfortable. Those choices have consequences, good and bad. What bad consequences? Vanessa demanded. You're rich and successful. What's bad about that? The bad consequence, I said quietly, is having a family that doesn't know me, doesn't see me, doesn't celebrate me. I traded your approval for financial security, and I'd make that trade again, but don't pretend there wasn't a cost. The words landed hard. My mother's sobs intensified. My father looked stricken. Vanessa's anger seemed to deflate into something more like confusion. Linda stood, placing a hand on my shoulder. I think Sarah and I should go. You're leaving, my mother said, looking up with red-rimmed eyes. We are, Linda confirmed. This was supposed to be a pleasant Christmas dinner. Instead, it's become an intervention about your failures as parents. Sarah doesn't need this. We're not failures, my father said. You are where Sarah's concerned, Linda said bluntly. You've spent 12 years ignoring her achievements, dismissing her success, and treating her like she's less important than Vanessa. That's not just failure, it's cruelty. That's not fair, my mother protested. What's not fair, Linda said, is having a daughter who's a millionaire partner at a prestigious firm and not knowing it. What's not fair is celebrating Vanessa's roommate situation while ignoring Sarah's Architectural Digest feature. What's not fair is this entire family dynamic that you two created and refused to acknowledge. I stood as well, collecting my purse. My father reached for me. Sarah, please. We can talk about this. We've had 12 years to talk about it, I said. You chose not to. I'm done waiting for you to decide I'm worth your time. You've always been worth our time, my mother said desperately. Have I? I asked. Because I spent 12 years trying to share my life with you, and you couldn't spare 5 minutes of attention. But Vanessa gets 40 minutes for a roommate discussion. The math doesn't support your claim. My father's voice cracked. What do you want from us? Nothing, I said, and realized it was true. I don't want anything from you anymore. I wanted you to be proud of me. I wanted you to be interested in my life. I wanted you to see me. But I stopped wanting that about 5 years ago when I finally accepted that it wasn't going to happen. It can happen now, my mother said, reaching for me. I stepped back. Can it? Or do you just want access to your millionaire daughter? Do you want to know me, or do you want to brag about me to your friends now that you can't pretend I'm the disappointing child? The accusation hung in the air, brutal and accurate. My mother's face crumpled. My father looked away. That's what I thought, I said quietly. Linda and I walked to the door together. Behind us, I could hear my mother crying and Vanessa's angry voice demanding someone explain what just happened. Outside, the December air was cold and crisp, crystalline with the threat of snow. Linda walked me to my car, a sleek Audi A6 I'd bought 2 years ago, paid in cash. You okay? Linda asked. I think so, I said. That was harder than I expected. You were magnificent, she said. Clear, honest, unbothered. Everything they needed to hear. They're going to call, I said. Tonight. Tomorrow. They're going to want to fix this. Maybe, Linda agreed. But you don't owe them a quick fix. You don't owe them anything. You've spent 12 years trying to be seen. If they want a relationship now, they need to earn it. What if they can't? I asked. Then you'll be fine, she said firmly. You have a beautiful home, a brilliant career, financial security, and people who actually appreciate you. You don't need parents who only valued you once they learned your net worth. He was right. I knew she was right. But it still ached. Thank you, I said, hugging her. For seeing me. For having my back. Always, she said. I'm proud of you, Sarah. So incredibly proud. And I'm sorry your parents couldn't see what was right in front of them. I drove home to Oakmont Drive, to my Victorian house with its wraparound porch and historical charm. To the life I'd built with my own hands, my own vision, my own relentless work. Inside, everything was exactly as I'd left it. The restored hardwood floors gleaming in the lamplight. The chef's kitchen with its marble countertops and commercial-grade appliances. The library with floor-to-ceiling shelves filled with architecture books and design magazines. The master suite with its clawfoot tub and original crown molding. Every room was a choice I'd made, A design I'd executed, a dream I'd realized. Not for approval. Not for recognition. Just because this was the life I wanted. My phone started ringing. My mother. I let it go to voicemail. Then my father called. Voicemail again. A text from Vanessa. You always have to be the center of attention. I set the phone down and walked through my house, room by room, seeing it through my parents' eyes for the first time. Seeing what they'd missed. What they'd never asked about. What they'd never known existed. The anger I'd expected didn't come. Instead, there was just clarity. Clean, cold, liberating clarity. I'd built something extraordinary. I'd achieved financial independence and professional recognition. I'd designed award-winning projects and mentored young architects. I'd created a life worth celebrating. And I'd done it all without my parents' knowledge, support, or approval. Which meant I didn't need those things to succeed. I never had. Tomorrow there would be more calls. More texts. More demands for explanations and reconciliation. But tonight I stood in my paid-off Victorian mansion, surrounded by 12 years of quiet achievement, and let myself feel the full weight of what I'd accomplished. Without them. Despite them. In spite of them. And it was magnificent.